sparrowhawk flew gently through the glowing tunnel of light, leaving the Hall of Echoes behind. The stars had returned, but they now looked brighter, as if they knew something had changed. Inside the ship, the crew sat quietly, each person deep in thought. Captain Elias stood near the main window, watching the golden path ahead. "We're heading home," he said softly. Raina nodded. "But we're not the same people who left Earth." Kara leaned back in her chair. "We saw their memories, their hopes, their warnings, and they trusted us to carry it forward." Jonah looked at the glowing map. "There's still more to learn, more paths to follow. But I think this part of the journey is done." The ship moved faster now, as if the veil itself was guiding them back. A soft pulse of light followed the ship, lighting the way like stars blinking in rhythm. The map showed a final marker, Earth. The crew gathered in the command room as the planet came into view. It was blue and green, just as they remembered, spinning quietly in space. But it felt different now, more precious, more fragile. "We're almost there," Elias said. But just before they reached orbit, a signal appeared on their screen. It wasn't from Earth. It was from the Veil. The same calm voice returned. "One final task. Share what you have seen. Not in words, but in understanding." Suddenly, the glowing sphere from the Crystal Island began to float. It pulsed brightly, and then gently released hundreds of small lights. Each one floated through the ship, then out through the windows into space, heading toward Earth. Raina watched in awe. "They're sending the memories." To everyone, Kara stepped closer to the window. "They'll see what we saw, not as a message, but as a feeling." The lights entered Earth's atmosphere without harm. They scattered across the world, touching people, cities, forests, even empty deserts. Everywhere, someone paused, looked up, felt something new. A child in a crowded street suddenly dreamed of stars. A teacher saw an image of people working together in peace. A scientist felt a strong sense of purpose and hope. Across the planet, the memories from the Veil were shared, softly, quietly, but deeply. Jonah smiled. "They'll never forget this, even if they don't understand it right away." Elias turned to his crew. This was never just about exploration. It was about connection. About reminding us of who we are and who we can become. The sparrowhawk gently entered Earth's orbit. The space agency contacted them immediately, asking questions, curious and confused. But Elias simply said, "We'll explain everything." In time, as the ship landed on Earth, people gathered to meet them. Some were officials, some were scientists. But many were just curious citizens who had seen something, felt something in their hearts. The glowing map from the ship was displayed in front of Earth's leaders. It showed not just paths to other stars, but the promise of shared knowledge and peaceful journeys. Raina gave a quiet speech at a World Science Conference. She didn't talk about power or advanced machines. She spoke of memory, of unity, and of the quiet voice that had guided them through the stars. Kara shared the designs of peaceful technologies they had seen. It's not to conquer, but to improve life on Earth. Clean energy, safe transport, better ways to learn and connect. Jonah worked with pilots and engineers, helping them understand how space could be explored with care and respect, and Elias traveled from place to place, speaking with children, students, and everyday people, not as a hero, but as a reminder that the future belonged to all of them. The message from the Veil was not shouted, didn't come with noise or commands. It came as inspiration, soft and deep. Weeks passed, and Earth began to change, not all at once, but slowly. People started working together more. They asked better questions. They looked up at the stars not with fear, but with wonder. One evening, the crew met again on a hill outside the city. The sky above them was clear. The stars shone brightly. The faint line of the Veil's golden path could still be seen by those who believed. "We brought back more than knowledge," Raina said. "We brought back hope," Elias added. Jonah chuckled. "And a pretty cool map." Kara smiled. "What do we do now?" Elias looked up at the sky. "We rest, we share, and then we go again." The others nodded. They knew the journey wasn't over. The galaxy was vast, and the veil had many more secrets to reveal. But for now, they had done something no one else had ever done. They had listened, they had learned, and they had brought the stars home. Asterisk. Months had passed since the Sparrowhawk returned. To Earth. The memories from the inner veil had spread quietly but deeply. People everywhere felt a new connection, not just to the stars, but to each other. Captain Elias stood in a park, watching children play under the bright sun. Their laughter echoed through the air, full of joy and hope. He smiled, knowing that the future was alive in those small moments. Beside him, Kara adjusted a small device she had helped create, one inspired by the peaceful technologies from the Crystal Island. It collected sunlight and turned it into clean energy for the whole neighborhood. Raina was nearby, teaching a group of young students about the stars and the stories hidden within them. Her voice was calm but full of excitement. Jonah watched from a distance, preparing a new spacecraft designed for careful exploration. Not for conquest, but for learning. Everything is changing, Kara said softly. It's not because we forced it, but because people chose to believe. Elias nodded. The veil showed us that change comes from inside, from hope and understanding. Night, the four gathered on a hill overlooking the city. The stars above twinkled softly, and the faint golden glow of the veil still shimmered faintly in the sky for those who watched carefully. We started something new, Elias said. But the journey never really ends, Raina smiled. There are more secrets out there, more paths to discover, Jonah added, and more people to inspire. Kara looked at the stars. We showed them what it means to be human, Elias took a deep breath. Humanity is more than just a species. We are dreamers, builders, and friends. We face the unknown with courage and kindness. As they sat quietly, a soft light appeared above them, a gentle shimmer in the night sky. It was a sign, a promise. The universe was vast, but it was not cold. It was waiting, waiting for those who dared to listen, waiting for those who chose hope, waiting for those who believe in the power of unity. The crew smiled at each other. They knew the next adventure was already beginning, not just for them, but for all of humanity, because now Earth was not alone. It was part of a great and shining story, a story that stretched across stars and time, a story where humanity would always say, quietly but firmly, "We are here, we are ready, and we will rise." The sun of a distant star lit up the two ships, one Thaleri and one human, as they drifted together near a quiet system. The crew from both sides had grown close. They now shared not just space, but also trust. Inside the Kindred's main meeting room, Captain Maya Reed and Captain Nelu sat together, looking at a glowing star chart. Elder Vanny was with them too, sitting quietly but listening closely. Maya pointed to a system far from any busy trade routes. "This world here," she said, is called Haven's Reach. It's small, with green land and clean water. No one lives there yet, but it's perfect for settlement. Captain Nelu studied the data. Could we really live there without being found? Our sensors show no signs of Vorax patrols in that area, Maya said. We could go together. I can help you build from the ground up. Elder Vani nodded. If it is safe, and if the soil accepts us, then we will plant new roots. The decision was made. The Thaleri would settle on Haven's Reach, and the Kindred would guide them there. As the ships prepared to leave, the crews worked side by side. Humans taught the Thaleri how to use certain tools. The Thaleri shared technology that could clean water faster and grow food in hard soil. A young Thaleri girl named Sira stood with a human boy named Leo near one of the windows. They looked out at the stars and pointed at the shapes they imagined in the sky. "That one looks like a bird," Sira said. Leo smiled. "And that one looks like a fish." Though they had different languages and homes, the children laughed in. The same way, soon, the ships moved forward, their engines glowing softly. They flew together like two friends, walking side by side into a new land. The journey to Haven's Reach took 4 days. Along the way, something special happened. Captain Nelu stood on the deck and watched as the humans held a small ceremony. It was called the Planting of Intent. Each human wrote a short wish or promise on a small leaf-shaped card. Then, they placed the cards into a glowing container filled with earth soil. "What is this?" Nelu asked Maya. "It's a tradition." She said, "Before we begin a new mission, we plant our hopes. Not for luck, but for heart." Maya handed Nelu a card. "Would you like to add one?" Nelu held the card for a moment. Then he wrote, "May our people find peace, and may we bring kindness wherever we go." He placed the card into the container, and a small light glowed within the soil. It was simple, but deeply meaningful. Elder Vani, who had watched silently, finally smiled. "I never thought I'd see hope bloom again. But here it is." On the final day of the journey, they arrived. Haven's Reach was beautiful. It had blue oceans, rolling green fields, and tall silver trees that shimmered in the wind. The air was fresh, and the sky was full of gentle clouds. Shuttles flew down from both ships and landed softly near a wide valley. The ground was strong and the air was warm. The Thaleri stepped out first, her feet touching the soil of what would become their new home. Captain Nelu looked around and whispered, "We made it." The humans began helping right away. They set up water systems, temporary shelters, and solar panels. Engineers worked together to scan the land and mark safe building areas. Maya and her crew didn't try to take control. They followed the lead of the Thaleri, supporting them without pushing. That night, the Thaleri lit small lanterns and placed them in a circle. It was a tradition from their old world. Each lantern represented a hope, a dream, or a loved one remembered. Humans joined the circle. Holding small lights of their own, Captain Nelu stood in the center and spoke with a calm voice. "We have come far, we lost much, but we have found friends who walk beside us. This land will be more than a place to live. It will be a home shaped by hope," Maya added, "and we will return to check on you, not as watchers, but as friends." The night was filled with gentle music, soft laughter, and quiet tears. Not of sadness, but of healing. A new chapter had begun in the quiet hours before sunrise. Sira and Leo sat on a rock near the trees, watching fireflies dance through the air. "Do you think this place will always be peaceful?" Sira asked Leo. Looked up at the stars. "I don't know, but I think, as long as we keep being kind, it can be." The wind moved gently through the silver leaves, and in that moment, two young voices, two peoples, and two hearts shared something powerful. Hope. Asterisk. Morning sunlight touched the soft hills of Haven's Reach. The silver trees swayed gently in the breeze, and birds, small and blue, sang sweet songs in the distance. The new colony had begun to take shape. The Thalarian humans worked together each day, building homes from local stone and strong plant fibers. The design was a mix of both cultures, simple Thaleri curves with strong human lines. It looked like something entirely new. Yet natural. Captain Nelu stood beside Captain Maya as they looked at the growing village. "It's beautiful," Nelu said softly. "It's peaceful," Maya replied. Elder Vani walked toward them, holding a small tablet. "I've made a list of things we need: seeds, water filters, and teaching materials.
Our young ones
Must learn not just to survive, but to grow." Maya nodded. "The Kindred's cargo bay still has supplies. We'll bring them down today." Humans had decided to stay for a little longer, helping the Thalari finish the first part of their settlement. No one rushed. Every step felt careful, thoughtful, and shared. That afternoon, a new sound echoed across the field: laughter. Children from both species played together. Sira and Leo led the group. They had made a game using round stones and tall grass, where players had to toss stones through moving hoops. Sira shouted 3 points for the Thaleri. Leo grinned. "We'll catch up soon." Nearby adults smiled as they worked. No one minded the noise. It was a sign of life. Real, joyful life. Inside the main community tent, Rari, the Thaleri science officer, met with a human named Dr. Kellen, a botanist. They studied local plants to see which ones were safe to eat and which ones could be used for medicine. This flower, Rari said, pointing to a blue-petaled bloom, opens during sunrise and closes at night. Our scans show high mineral content, double quotes. Dr. Kellen nodded. It might be good for tea or even healing wounds. We'll test carefully. Every day brought discovery, and with each discovery came more understanding between the two species. Later, that evening, Captain Maya called a small meeting with Nelu and Vanny. There's something I want to share, she said. Earth's command received our report. They are pleased with the progress, but more than that, they're curious about something. Nelu leaned forward. Curious about what? Maya smiled. Your people, your strength, your spirit. Want to invite a few of you to Earth not as guests, but as partners? Vanny raised an eyebrow. What does that mean? It means, Maya explained, they want you to share your voice. Join our interstellar council, help shape peace across the stars. Nelu was silent. It was a big offer, but we've just found this place, he said. You're not ready for councils or great talks. Vanny spoke gently. Maybe not today. But perhaps in time, some of our young people will go. They will learn. And return wiser, Maya agreed. No pressure. Only an open door. That night, under the stars, a quiet ceremony was held. The Thaleri lit 7 lights, one for each ship that escaped the old world. One for those they lost, and one for the future. Maya and her crew stood beside them. Sira looked up at her father. Who held the last lantern? What do we wish for this time? She asked. He smiled. The future to be kind. The lanterns floated into the sky, their lights rising until they joined the stars. The next day, the kindred began preparing to leave. Their mission had been more than they ever expected. It wasn't just about helping strangers. It was about forming a bond that felt like family. The people of Haven's Reach lined up to say goodbye. Hugs were shared. Small gifts were exchanged. Sira gave Leo a necklace made from silver tree bark. So you won't forget, she said. I won't, Leo promised. And maybe I'll come back someday. Maya and Nelu shook hands one last time. You've given us more than help, Nelu said. You gave us hope, and you gave us purpose, Maya replied. We won't forget each other. The kindred lifted slowly into the sky, its engines quiet, its heart full. As it disappeared into the blue, the Thaleri turned back toward their new village. There was work to do. But now, they knew they wouldn't have to face the stars alone. They had friends among the humans, and together, they had taken the first step toward something far greater than survival. They had begun to build a future. A gentle wind blew across the valley of Haven's Reach. The houses, still new and shining under the sun, stood like quiet promises of the future. Life had begun to settle into a calm rhythm for the Thaleri. Every morning, Captain Nelu walked through the village. He'd like to greet the people and see how the work was going. Today, he stopped near the gardens, where fresh green plants were growing tall. Rari stood with a group of Thaleri youth, teaching them how to use a scanner to test the soil. This ground has good strength, she said. If we treat it with care, it will feed us for generations. The children listened carefully, their eyes bright with curiosity. Nearby, Elder Vanny taught a history class under the shade of a large tree. She spoke not only of the past they lost, but also of the kindness the humans had shown. We are no longer only survivors, she said. We are builders now. And builders must carry wisdom, not fear. The village slowly began to feel like home, each day. The people added something new, a windmill here, a water-purifying tower there. Some painted the walls of their homes with gentle patterns, while others wrote songs about the new land. One evening, a small celebration was held in the main square. It had been exactly 50 days since their arrival. People called it the First Light Festival. Lanterns were lit, and tables were filled with food made from their early crops. Children performed a short play, telling the story of their journey and how the humans helped them. Sira and Leo's story became part of the play. Even though Leo had returned to Earth with the kindred, Sira stood proudly in front of the crowd and said, "Kindness travels farther than ships." Everyone clapped, and many smiled with soft tears in their eyes. Later that night, Captain Nelu and Elder Vani sat near the fire. "Do you think the humans will return soon?" Nelu asked. "They said they would," Vani replied, "and I believe them. Their hearts are strong, as if the stars had heard their words." The very next day brought news. A small message came through the communication system. The signal was clear and warm. "This is Captain Maya Reed of the Kindred. We're 2 days away in bringing something special." Excitement filled the village. When the Kindred arrived, it came with new supplies and new faces. 3 human teachers had volunteered to stay on Haven's Reach for a while. They brought books, small computers, and samples of earth plants. One of the teachers, Mr. Allen, introduced himself to the Thaleri children with a big smile. "I've come to learn from you too," he said. "Every mind is a light." Sira was especially excited. She had many questions about Earth, about human cities, and about the stars. Maya also had news for Nelu and Vani. "Earth Command is inviting you to speak at the Unity Forum next season. It's a meeting of many peaceful species." Nelu was surprised. Maya looked at him kindly. "Because your story gives hope. The galaxy needs hope." Nelu agreed to consider it. But first he said, "Let us keep building our home. Let us grow a little more, but then we'll speak." During their stay, the human crew helped install a solar communication tower, which would allow the Thalari to send messages across long distances. It stood tall at the edge of the village, its surface smooth and bright. At night, children often sat near it, watching the stars. They spoke of dreams of flying ships, of visiting Earth, helping others like they were helped. Rari started a science club for the young learners. Together with Mr. Allen, they built small models of wind turbines and even a tiny weather balloon. One afternoon, Sira launched the balloon. It floated high, carrying a message written in both Thaleri and human languages. "To whoever finds this, we believe in peace. We believe in friendship." The balloon rose into the sky, turning into a small dot, then disappearing into the blue dot. As the weeks passed, the bond between the Thaleri and the humans grew even deeper. They were not just guests and helpers anymore. They were neighbors, friends. Maya stood once more with Nelu, watching the children play. "This," she said, "is why we explore. Not to take, not to control, but to connect." Nelu nodded. "And we will carry this connection forward." The sun dipped low, painting the sky with colors of orange and gold. The stars waited above, silent and vast. But down on Haven's Reach, 2 worlds had found each other not by force, but by choice. And in that choice, a future was quietly taking root. The village at Haven's Reach was now full of life. Gardens stretched wide with colorful plants. New homes stood strong. Children laughed as they ran across the open fields, and the wind carried music made from wooden flutes and soft drums. The Thaleri had turned a silent land into a home filled with joy and learning. The humans who stayed were no longer visitors. They were part of the village now, in the learning tent. Mr. Allen sat with a group of Thalerian human children. Today's lesson was about the stars. "Each star you see," he explained, "has its own story. Some are young, some are very old. They all shine together in the same sky." Sira raised her hand. "Do you think stars can be friends? Like us?" Mr. Allen smiled. "I think they already are." Outside, Rari and a young human engineer named Jenna were building a new energy station. It would help power lights, water pumps, and communication systems. "This place is becoming something special," Jenna said, tightening a bolt. Rari nodded. "Yes, and it's only the beginning." Captain Nelu spent his day visiting each area of the village, listening to the people. He wrote down their ideas and made sure no one felt forgotten. Everyone had a voice. When he returned to the community hall, he found Elder Vani deep in thought, holding a message tablet. "What is it?" Nelu asked gently. Vani handed him the tablet. "It's an invitation. The Unity Forum meeting is just 1 month away. They ask us to speak." Nelu sat down beside her. "Do you think we are ready?" Vani looked at him. We were once a quiet people. Then we lost everything. But now, we are something more. Not because of strength, but because of connection. Nalu looked out the window. The children were still playing, their joy reaching the sky. We'll go, he said, not to speak for the past, but to speak for the future. The next few days were busy. A small group was chosen to travel with Nelu and Vani. Maya helped prepare the ship that would carry them to the Forum, a human transport vessel called Hope Finder. Before they left, the entire village gathered to say goodbye. Mr. Allen handed Nelu a small book. It's full of stories the children wrote. Take it with you. Sira gave Elder Vani a necklace made of blue stones. For peace, she said. Jenna gave Rari a simple bracelet, made from solar wires. She laughed. But it carries light. Maya stood last in line. She hugged Nilu and said, wherever you go, speak from your heart. That's what people remember. The Hope Finder lifted into the sky. It moved gently, as if carried by the dreams of the people below. The journey to the Unity Forum took 5 days. Along the way, the Thaleri travelers saw things they had only read about: star cities, space gardens, and peaceful stations where many species worked together. They finally arrived at the Unity platform, great floating space station shaped like a ring, orbiting a golden star. It was full of life. Ships from across the galaxy floated nearby, each one representing a different world. Inside, the forum hall was vast. Soft lights hung from the ceiling. Gentle music played as delegates entered. There were beings with feathers, scales, fur, and skin. It's all peaceful, all curious. When it was the Thalaria's turn to speak, the hall grew quiet. Captain Nelu stepped forward. We are the Thaleri, he began. Once we had a world. Then we had only each other. But then we met someone else, someone who helped. Without asking for anything in return, he paused and looked out at the crowd. They were called humans. Some of the delegates smiled. Others leaned in to listen more closely. They gave us food, shelter, and guidance. But more than that, they gave us something rare in the galaxy: kindness. Elder Vani took a step forward. Now we live on Haven's Reach. It is small, but it is ours, built with human hands and Thaleri hearts. Then she held up the blue stone necklace. This is a gift from a child. It reminds us that even the smallest voice matters. Rari followed. She showed the bracelet from Jenna. Even solar wires can become a symbol of friendship. The crowd listened in silence, their eyes wide, their hearts touched. Captain Nilu finished with a quiet promise. We do not ask for protection. We ask to share what we've learned, that peace is not weakness, and friendship is not a dream. With humans, we have found both. The hall filled with soft clapping, a signal of deep respect among the galaxy's peaceful species. That night, the Thaleri stood on the viewing deck of the Unity platform looking out at the stars. Elder Vani said, today, our voice joined the stars. Captain Nelu nodded. And tomorrow, we help others find theirs. The stars above the Unity platform sparkled like soft candles in the night. After the Thaleri's speech, many peaceful leaders came forward. They shared kind words, offered friendship, and asked to learn more about Haven's Reach. Captain Nilu and Elder Vani were surprised but pleased. For the first time in their history, the Thaleri were not alone in the galaxy. Their story had touched others. In one quiet corner of the platform, a group of young beings from many planets gathered. They were students, artists, and dreamers. They listened closely as Rari told stories from Haven's Reach. It's not the tools or the buildings that make a home, she said. It's the people who care for one another. One student from a bird-like species tilted his head. Can we visit your planet one day? Maybe soon, Rari replied with a smile. We're still growing, but the door is open. Meanwhile, news of the Thalari's message spread across human channels too. On Earth, people talked about them with warmth and curiosity. Some schools even used their story as part of their piece. Education, back on the Kindred. Captain Maya Reed watched the recordings from the Unity Forum with quiet pride. They found their voice. She said to her first officer, and now others are listening. Maya began planning a return trip to Haven's Reach, this time with new friends who wanted to help or learn. The next day, Nelu and Vani received a private message from the Unity Council. "We invite you." The message said, "To become a teaching world one that others may visit to understand peace, cooperation, and community." The Thaleri delegation took time to think. This was a big step, but when they talked it over, they all agreed. "Yes," Elder Vani said. "If the galaxy wants to learn about kindness, then let Haven's Reach be the classroom." Return, Nelu stood one last time on the Unity platform's main deck. He looked at the ships from many different worlds. Each one had a different shape, color, and voice. But here, they stood side by side. "This," he whispered, "is what the stars should be." The Hope Finder ship gently lifted from the station and turned toward home. As it flew through space, Rari sat with her notebook, full of new names, languages, and contacts. "I never thought we'd be known for peace," she said. "We became that by choosing it," Nelu replied. When they arrived at Haven's Reach, the village had changed again. There were new gardens, more wind towers, and even a small library made from polished stone and wood. Sira was the first to greet them, running up the path with a wide smile. "You're back," she shouted. "Everyone missed you." Behind her came Mr. Allen, Jenna, and the others. They had kept the village strong, and they were excited to hear the news. Elder Vani gathered the people together in the main square and spoke clearly. "The Unity Council has invited us to teach others. Our home is now a place of peace for all to learn from." The people listened with pride and wonder. Some were nervous, but many were hopeful. Captain Maya returned 3 days later, bringing new guest artists, engineers, and storytellers from different species who wanted to visit and share their knowledge. Among them was a soft-spoken healer from a plant-like species. She brought seeds that could grow fruits in dry soil. Another visitor was a musician with glowing skin who offered to teach music from her world, instead of fear. The Thaleri greeted them with kindness and open arms. A circle was built in the center of the village. It became a place for teaching and sharing. People sat there in the evenings, learning songs, languages, and ways of living. One night, Sira stood up in front of the circle. She held the same necklace of blue stones that she had given to Elder Vani. "When I gave this necklace," she said, "I hoped for peace. Now, I see that peace is something we keep growing. Like a garden, we have to water it every day with kindness." The crowd clapped softly. Captain Nelu placed a hand on Sira's shoulder. "Your words are true. Let them guide us." In the days that followed, people from new worlds arrived, each carrying small gift seeds, tools, art, or simple songs. None of them came with weapons. All came with stories. Haven's Reach had become something rare, a place of learning, healing, and hope. In the evening sky, the stars still shone as they always had. But now, they seemed closer, almost like they were listening. The Thaleri had once been silent, afraid, and forgotten. Now, her voice reached across space, and that voice was full of light. Asterisk-y sun rose softly over Haven's Reach, painting the sky with gentle colors of pink and gold.
The village
was alive with movement. People prepared for a special day to welcome friends from across the galaxy. The word had spread. Haven's Reach was no longer just a new home for the Thaleri. It had become a place of peace, hope, and learning. Ships from many worlds were arriving carrying visitors eager to share and grow. Captain Nelu stood at the edge of the village watching the ships come in one by one. Each was different, some sleek and shining, others large and gentle like floating gardens. Beside him stood Elder Vani, smiling quietly. "Look at what we have become," she said. "A beacon for others." Nelu nodded. "It is more than I ever imagined, but it is because we chose kindness." The children ran past, their laughter bright in the morning air. Sira waved to the new visitors, her heart full of hope. Inside the community circle, preparations were underway. Tables were filled with fruits and breads from many planets. Colors from different worlds decorated the tents, Mr. Allen and Jenna, worked alongside the Larry builders to set up learning stations. Today there would be music from the glowing-skinned musician, stories from the plant-like healer, and lessons on star navigation. Captain Maya Reed arrived with her team. Her eyes sparkled with pride as she saw the village so full of life. "Look at how far you've come," she said softly to Nelu. "Haven's Reach is a home in the stars." Nelu smiled. "And a home is where hearts live together." The festival began with a quiet moment. Elder Vanny spoke to the crowd. "We are a people who have traveled far from loss to hope, from silence to voice. Today, we celebrate not just ourselves, but the friendship that carries us forward." The music started a gentle song that mixed human melodies and Thalari tones. Voices from many worlds joined in, creating a harmony that felt like the stars singing. Syrah stepped forward, holding the blue stone necklace in her hands. "This necklace," she said, "reminds us that peace is a journey. It is a promise we keep by caring for each other." She placed the necklace on a special stand, where it shone softly in the sunlight. Throughout the day, stories were shared. Visitors told of their homes, their dreams, and their hopes for the future. The Thalari shared songs from their lost world, and the humans showed drawings of Earth's forests and oceans. Children learned new games. Adults discussed ideas for growing the village and protecting the land. As the stars appeared in the evening sky, the village gathered again. Lanterns were lit and floated gently into the air, carrying wishes and promises. Captain Nelu looked around at the faces, young and old, human and Thalari, and many others. "This is our future," he said quietly. "Not one of fear, but one of friendship. Not of war, but of peace." Elder Vaney added, "We once thought we were small and lost. Now we see we are part of something much greater." The visitors promised to return, to help, to learn, to grow, and the Thalari promised to keep their hearts open to be guides and friends. Syrah stood beside her father, looking up at the stars. "Do you think this peace will last?" she asked softly. Nelu smiled and took her hand. "Peace is like the stars. Sometimes they hide behind clouds, but they always shine again." And as the night sky sparkled, the light of Haven's Reach glowed warmly, a shining example of what the galaxy could be: a place where kindness was the strongest power, where friendship built bridges across the stars, where hope was alive, and where humanity's light guided the way.